Hey guys, it's Celine. I have not been on in a couple of weeks because developments, okay? I have been, so I'm also doing like a quick video today just to show my face and to tell you about it because it has been rather exciting. And I've been meeting up with people that I haven't seen in a long time. And, it's just really good vibes, all of it, actually. Some of it means, you have to remember the past, which isn't always funny. And so there's bits of that. I've been driving around on me lonesome in our new vehicle that we got. And because my husband's in a sort of a work job shift situation, which has been sort of on our minds like 100% of the time, it's like it's less stressful now. The stress is fading, and the adventure and the sense of excitement and new things and new energies is starting to win out from being, insecure and stressed out and whatever else it used to be, and painful and, fighting and arguing and all that, all the fun stuff. But it looks like we are actually, finding ways to become, and me too, to get the new energies into our lives in ways that are actually productive, not just for ourselves, but for other people as well. So just yesterday, I met up with my uncle, who I haven't seen in, I think it was like 40 years or so. Well, I had seen him once at somebody's funeral, I think, but that wasn't really like content, like life talk at all. He's the single person, I must say, in my whole entire family that I've always got on with really well, and he's very friendly and very laid back and actually just like me, like, accepting, and we don't want to fight, and we don't want to, there's a lot of Libra going on in there as well. So that has been really fun. He brought his wife, and I've just recognized both of them, like I had seen them 2 weeks ago, which was definitely not the case. And so it was fun, and it's also really exhausting. So 2 weeks ago I met up with also a bit different trip, like, I have to, in order to do this kind of a meet up with a peer person that I want to see and hear what their lives are like at the moment, and what they're, how they're doing and all. I need to have this new vehicle that's available to me at the moment for a short time, this month only, because then it'll become the new work vehicle, for work car for my husband, that he needs to, to drive to the office to, and whatever else. So I get to use this. We just got this as a like a early welcome present to the new job situation. So I am actually making the best of this and trying to not be driving all over the country every single day, because that's no use. Also, this is a very crowded and busy country, so one of those kinds of days is enough to last me for another 3 days at least at home by myself, because very many big people traffic. Just to put it in a sort of a stressed out pigeon kind of a language right there. So 2 weeks ago, I met up with an ex-colleague of mine, and she's going through the things with, the company that I used to work at myself, also back in the day. And so we had to rehash and revisit everything. Old ladies, and we sat there for 3 hours or so, and yada 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 yada, like that. And it's really exhausting. But I had the sense to bring me a thermos with hot water, so I could make myself a cup of tea afterwards when I was, back on the highway, and take a breather. That was really good. And yesterday I didn't bring my thermos, so I dehydrated and was not. The other really good thing among all this, is that I went ahead to a town where I'd never really been before. And I've been there twice now, the second time with my husband as well, because he was really excited and wanted to know all about it. It's an actual witchy shop. Like, I didn't know that existed in this country. Like a proper person who's into herb craft and incense and pendulums and crystals and things like that. There are handfuls of shops in the Netherlands, here where I am, that sell crystals. Crystals are super popular, like 1 to 10 is crystals in all these kinds of, and there are occasionally they also sell like cards, a teeny tiny collection of the cheapest possible, the most mainstream, non-threatening, non-challenging, safe little angel cards, very nice washed. Everything is just very pretty. A 1 or 2 Rider-Waite, Smith-Waite decks, a Lenormand, 1 or 2 maybe, and that is it in terms of cards. When they're going to want to go really crazy, they will put in a rune set or 2, and that's it. And you're basically, in this part of the country where I am, in the countryside, there's nothing. And then you go to the towns, the fair towns where actually a couple of 100,000 people live, you will find a main street shop, that sells crystals and incense, mostly, depending. So this is different. This shop that I just visited, we actually got to talk about everything and herbs and things. And I said to her, she was really interested in using Amanita muscaria as a, sort of a mood altering incense, kind of. It's more than incense, and it's also not really incense, but you burn it like incense, and then it does something to you, and you can do sessions with that. I've done those a couple of times, and we've got another one planned that I'm still curious to see whether it'll actually happen, because my husband and I really enjoy those, but it takes some processing, and you want to journal, and you want to pull cards, and you want to be in the vibe, and it's really awesome. I love that. You have to process. I mean, I harvest my own mushrooms, of course. I process them as I know how to do, and they keep for a long time, for years, in fact. And I was telling her about that. And she had never heard of using that, so she was really interested. And we just sort of got talking about that. This is the kind of situation where I get in with somebody, and you first have to actually figure out who they really are, and they have to figure out who you are, and so on. And when that's kind of coming to a sort of a pleasant vibe, then the information exchange starts for me. And then, it's just all this intel and all this vibes and stories, and everybody's got to share. We got all got stuff sort of on in our backpacks that we want to share and want to talk about, and we never get the chance. So that's what happens here. You just big ass explosions of talk and speaking and general, sharing and things. So after that, I'm also like constantly for days afterwards, I'm like mulling over what they said and the other thing they said, and oh my god, I said I was gonna look up the thing and blah and so on and so forth. So endless fun, and I have not had this for so long. I'm just I'm just like having a big ass birthday party, but it's not my birthday. Okay, so the last time I went over special to bring her a tiny pot that I made with instructions and all the rest of it, printed out neatly, so she can't, mess around with them too much, I think, unless she wants to, which is fine, and it's her responsibility anyway, of the fly cut mushroom with some resin added in for the fragrance, which is what I do. So it's kind of what I use myself as well. And I went to bring that to her shop. She's got beautiful, huge, actually big, shop. I'll put the information. I don't know if I already said this, but I'll put the information for any of you who are actually in the Netherlands or close by enough that you might want to go and visit, because it's beautiful. She's got all sorts of beautiful things, and you just need to check that out. I don't think she's got really much of a web shop as is yet, but the info will be in the description as well as in the pinned comment. Okay, so Moon Children is the name of her company. Beautiful. So in exchange for the mascara incense that I gave her, she gave me this. And I didn't know what was in at first. And she opened them up and showed me, which is what I'm going to do now. These are specially harvested from Scotland, where she used to live. She is Dutch, and she's from that area where I met up with her, where her shop is. Originally, but she spent a couple of years apparently in Scotland with her daughter, who is also a very witchy person. And she's got all sorts of interesting bits and pieces from there, and she got into traditions there. I've never been there, and I've never spoken to people like that, but they are still around, which is amazing. So she gave me this package, and it contains these sort of harvested. One of them fell out because they do that. This isn't the ideal container for this kind of stuff. She obviously just sort of made this up to show these and to keep these in. These are blackthorn ends, pins, and sort of sticks with thorns on them. These are nasty, okay? You do not want to get yourself and your skin anywhere on this end of the thing because it's nasty. It even has a tendency to fester, apparently. So, yeah, it's a risk. And of course, this kind of a jute fabric that she used to roll them in like this in the different sizes, as I showed you just now, which I think is kind of awesome. The jute isn't stopping the needles, the what do you call those? The thorns, thank you, to come right through the outside like that. So I have to think of something else to keep these in, something where I probably just use the whole package and create some kind of a leather. I think will be safest, on put a strip of leather on the outside of this, and then you're in business, But I didn't know a lot about blackthorn, or sloe as it's known. We know it in Dutch as sleedoorn, which is like the sleigh is the slow. It's the same word, historically, linguistically, that is. I don't know what they're called in German. Should have to look that up. Probably something like Schwarzdoorn, blackthorn as well. But we'll figure that out. They are incredible magic enhancers. I'm finding out in my practice. Okay, I have done recently. So I shared a month or so ago, or maybe 6 weeks ago, something about how I make herbal pouches nowadays, where I combine a whole set of herbs with a demonic sigil from the Goetia or similar, a spirit that I know really well already, that I'm sort of familiar with and have got a vibe with through my practice that I do with them, which is important because you have to first have the knowledge of the spirit for it to work, I think, And then I've made 3 for myself and 1 for my husband, 4 different spirit pouches, where the idea is that the combination of the herbs and spices that are mainly in the pouch are they're like in a synergy together. They work together really well, and you've organized them around the sigil of the spirit. And the thing is that it sort of brings out your aspects of that spirit more strongly. So, for example, I've been working with Zepar all this year long, this whole year of 2026, and Zepar is about feeling the other person as part of yourself and still have boundaries with them and with yourself, if that makes any sense. Zepar, in the Travis McHenry occult tarot, is the Lover's card, and that's my year card for this year, and it just went headlong, flat flaps into work with Zipar like in January or something, and it was intense. And there's a lot more that I could be talking about in this context, but I don't really have time because people are coming and everything else. But I just wanted to talk to you guys and make my little video about my witchy thing, because here's what I've been doing. So I made a herbal pouch for my husband, same story, but for Belial this time. And we added one of these pins, one of these blackthorn thorn plus a piece of the stick, like that. Tied that to his pouchy, and you could really stick it in really safely, so there's no risk of hurting himself with that, because he wears that around his neck. And the whole vibration of the magic in the pouch just went like I'm reminded of what in Tibetan Buddhism is called Vajra. As I look at that from my own, inner heat Tumo practice, my Kundalini yoga practice that I've, bored people with in the past, which I still do a lot. The Vajra is like it's a tent peg. It's like what you use to stick your tent so it stays put to the ground. They're metal in here. If you have a tent, you just hammer those into the ground, and then your tent stays where it's supposed to be. 10 pegs, not the tent pole in the middle, the pegs. In my book, this is my interpretation. Okay, I'm old, I'm crazy, I can do what I want, and it's my channel anyway. So this is what I'm here, to do, and to share the madness in general, if I can. They amplify the blackthorn thorns. And there's a whole story, and there's internet and research, and please go and research this kind of stuff if you want. If you want it, also be really careful with these buggers, because youch. Okay. I did another thing now where I've got this. So this is a very earthing kind of, I need more earth in my life. I need to be manifesting my second half of my life, where it is a lot more quiet, a lot more open. We're working on it. Okay, it's a process. It's happening, and we're making good time. It's wonderful, but also talking to people and relationships and following up and answering messages and interacting and making time for people and all that. Being able to afford to have contact and love and interaction and exchange of vibes, basically, with people, all that. And not just with people, also for me, myself, my house needs looking after. I need looking after. I need inner child work still. So hence this one. I had this is a crystal. I don't suppose it'll show really well. Maybe I have another one. Bear with. No, I didn't stop my video. I did the right thing. I didn't break off. I paused it. So I'm going to do that again. Sorry about this. It's new tech. I just have to figure this out. Desirite crystal, right? Just back in a second. Okay, let me see if I can show you. This is a stone, a crystal that is called Desirite. I'm holding it against the lightest part of my background here so you can sort of tell what it looks like. It's a quartz that has hematite bits in it, but it tends to be ever so slightly milky. It is transparent, but not as transparent as, rock crystal, which is a completely different thing. This is it's both quartz. I mean, don't ask me why this is so different, because that's something I'm amazed at every single time. These are sort of very, they're grounding, but they work on your body. I suppose the effect of this, and I have been sort of fiddling with this because there are different ways of grounding. Black tourmaline is a really good for grounding as well, a really good crystal, I should say, for grounding. I've been working with that recently a lot. There's obsidian, of course, rock, smoky quartz, really good, but they're all rather different. So I'm always like, okay, this is the stone for the day, or this is what I need to do right now, but like intuitively, right? So this is what is in here, and I used my hand spun wool to tie this around. It's rather a savant kind of a thread work happening here, to tie one of those thorn sticks of the blackthorn into this. And then afterwards I just realized, okay, but this is going to be really good for my Queen of Pentacles spirit work that I'm doing now, where I won't bore you with all the details. I just ended up doing a wee sigil. There's just a tiny piece of cardboard right there that has where's the camera on? I'm seeing if I can. I don't suppose it'll really focus ever at all. Anyway, you can tell what it is that I've been doing, right? I just shoved that in there. It's the sigil for that spirit, and it has the thorn, the blackthorn thorn on the other side. I think the blackthorn thorns will work really well, better even, with crystals than they do with like spirit pouches with the herbs and the spices and all that, because they're very potent, and it's like very one direction, you know. So you gotta be sure what it is that you want, and then it'll work. My herb pouches actually work. The other three that I've got, I just added one of the thorns to that, and then I went to bed and I just lay there with my things in my hand, and I took out the blackthorn thorn immediately, because it was just too much and it wasn't connected enough. Whereas with this, it's easy. This is like a nice kind of a conjunction for me, to inspire me to be more focused, be more aware and focused at the same time, be more self-aware, be more confident as a result of that, you know. Not be as spread out over the 7 provinces, like, ugh. I'm done with all the fragmentation and all the. So new tools, lots of new tools, lots of new people, and symbol work, and using symbols and sigils in with herbal things, and actually talking about it to people and people understanding. I never thought this was going to happen. You know, I was just like, for years, I was like, I'm the only nut who cares about this kind of stuff. And here we are. So thank you for watching. I hope this was entertaining in one way or another, and or informative, or whatever else, you know, maybe inspiring. And I wish you all the best. Have a nice weekend. And I hope to be back every week, because I want to be posting this kind of content every week, once a week. You know, I just want to do a little, what is this, 23 minutes is fine. Less is fine, more is fine, but not these endless long stories anymore. I just want to do a bit more hands-on, feet on the ground, you know, kind of a, you know, witchy vibes. Lots of vibes. Wishing you all the vibes. Okay? See you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye now.